This is a great, great little account. A lot we can learn from it. So what do we see here? First of all, we see a pattern of discipleship. So verse 19, go back to verse 19. It's not just a throwaway verse. Sometimes in a movie or in a book, they kind of just have to get people from one place to the other place. And Jesus went and his disciples followed. That's discipleship. That's how Jesus did it. He went, his disciples went with him. They followed him. They watched him. They listened to him. They learned from him. And then several times, Jesus said, okay, you guys go out and do it. You do what I just did. That's discipleship. That's the pattern Jesus established. Discipleship is following Jesus and walking with someone else who's following Jesus. We've made a big deal, a focus on talking about discipleship over the past 7 years. Not every time, we don't have a sermon on discipleship every week, but we talk about it a lot. If you look in the foyer on the wall of the sanctuary, we have these icons in wood, and they're up here. Because these are the 8 characteristics of a disciple, what we talk about. So starting on the top, left, our identity in Christ. The next one, imitation, following Jesus. The centrality of the Word in everything that we do. The next one is worship, worshiping God in spirit and truth. Then at the bottom, using our spiritual gifts to honor God. Being fluent in understanding the gospel so we can speak it in any circumstance. We love one another in community and love our city and the world. That's how we talk about discipleship. Well, what's the second one up there? It's imitation. It's feet. Because of this. Because when Jesus went somewhere, his disciples went with him. That's the first thing. You follow Jesus. 1 John 2:6. Whoever says he abides in him ought to walk in the same way in which he walked. You learn from Jesus. We know Jesus from his word. Specifically in the Gospels, first of all. Then the New Testament talks about all the things that Jesus said and how we apply it. The Old Testament points forward to Jesus and who he is and who he came to be. The whole book talks about Jesus. So we know him and we follow him. So that's it. We follow Jesus. Then also, we follow someone else who's following Jesus. Paul said in 1 Corinthians, imitate me as I imitate Christ. In Philippians 3, he says, brothers, join in imitating me and keep your eyes on those who walk according to the example you have in us. So he's saying, you're not meant to be a disciple on your own. You're supposed to surround yourself with other people who are following Jesus. He says, pay attention to them, imitate them, walk in the same way that they're walking. That's why we gather together, not just in church, but in community life groups. We follow Jesus together. And then, the next step is to disciple someone who follows you following Jesus. Meaning you take how you're growing, what you've learned, and you're following Jesus, and you say, I'm not perfect, I do not have all the answers, but I can at least help someone with what I've gone through. I can at least help someone learn what I've learned about Jesus, and you help someone else follow. That's how he set it up. Jesus taught his disciples, and he said, you guys go and do the same thing. Find other people and teach them all that I've commanded you. This is the pattern of discipleship that Jesus established, and we see it in this passage. It's not a program, so we're not going to line up this program and say, if you take this class and this class and this class, you're a disciple. If you read these 4 books, boom, you're good. No, it's you growing as a disciple, and then you saying, I can help someone with this. And you're not making a disciple of you. We don't want disciples of Ethan walking around this church. We make disciples of Jesus. We follow him together. That's discipleship. So we see a pattern of discipleship.